Cause you don't know, plotting out the fantasy. Hey baby girl, and it's you are the key. Yo, because I then fuck you looking at me, I got me to say you want me. When you gonna give it up to me? Because your body enticing me, making me want it. When you gonna give it up to me? When you gonna today, girl, then I must see tomorrow. When you fulfill my fantasy. Because you know what, if you love it straight like an arrow. When you gonna give it up to me? So back it up there, so back it up, yeah. Cause I wanna be the man that's really gonna have it up and mock it up and rock it up there. So what is up, yeah, you know you.
All right, welcome back to our 6th edition of Island Tea with Kevon and Amali. We're now moving to our last segment. Oh, well, first of all, we'd like to thank Akila Baron Nisbet for that, wonderful interview that we just had.
Yes.
Truly a warm and generous individual, and let's hope she, performs if elected. I believe she will. Wonderful lady, wonderful family. So now we're going to move on to Eat Local, I believe it is, Kevon.
Yes,
and
we have to Eat Local.
And we have one of our producers in the studio with us who is heavily involved in entertainment and the arts here in St. Kitts and Nevis, Mr. Azim Bailey of Red Pill Entertainment. Mr. Bailey, welcome.
Welcome.
Oh, it's so great to be here with you guys today.
Also, only today?
Yeah, only today, actually.
Okay, cool.
When Jay told me that Azim was going to be a guest today, I was like, but Azim is the producer, he always here. So
I wear many hats.
And he's also kind of a host as well. So he's a host and the producer and a guest. Azim, congratulations for your accomplishments.
And he also have to deal with Jade on a regular basis because the two of them in the same space.
Look. Y'all ain't gonna put me in the problems with Jade.
No, we
I'm sorry to hear, Azim, that you have to share space with Jade.
My sympathies, because it must be rough.
So Azim, are you the CEO of Red Pill or just a member? Or how does it go? And then what is Red Pill Entertainment?
Well, I'm the CEO and the founder, and Red Pill it came out of a very simple concept, which was we wanted to create a situation where creators are in a position to profit from not only their art and their product, but also their influence. And so it's a company that aims to monetize their influence and their talents. Mm-hmm. Through one, we function as a booking agency for artists, and we're now currently building the roster, as well as we aid in branding and in finding endorsements, and also just finding business opportunities or helping artists develop business opportunities so that they can also support themselves and use their influence to help market those businesses.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's necessary.
Necessary.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that I commend you for actually bringing that level of professionalism to the industry in terms of teaching our local artists, well, very importantly, their value. Mm-hmm. Because too often I see companies across the region taking advantage of local talent.
For sure.
And basically pimping them out to market their products and services. I won't call names. I don't want to get sued.
No, but I mean, we see it all the time. I mean, if you really stop and think about some of the things that go on, for instance, I mean, you have companies that might use, just for example, a song by a popular artist to sell, mm-hmm. To promote promote something that they're doing for the month of whatever, to mm-hmm. sell vehicles. Mm-hmm. But at the end of it, this ad is running for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Mm-hmm. And what was paid to the artist can't even buy tires.
Exactly.
Right? And they're selling cars upon cars upon cars. So I mean, there's something that needs to change. And this was my thought. It's something that I've been thinking about for a while. How do we affect change in this space? Mm-hmm. And I thought this might have been the best way to deal with it. Some people were thinking about, we need an association and all those things, and that might be necessary. But based on what I've experienced in the industry, mm-hmm. I feel like we needed a very professional and business approach to helping the artists to develop that value and that sense of pride in what they bring to the table.
It's going to take some conversations and some convincing, because like you say, even locally, I have actually been a part of negotiations between artists and major corporations. And the kind of offers they make to our local talent is insulting. I mean,
You mean you got the one that, oh, we don't actually give money?
My gosh.
You got that one yet?
of course I've gotten that one. And some of these artists, like I would advise them, I said don't accept. I mean, we don't start too big, eh? The request we have of these corporations is modest, it is comfortable, and especially compared to what knowledge I have and what other artists get regionally. For example, Marshall Montano. When Marshall Montano gets endorsements from companies, whether it's Caribou or Digicel, he ain't got to work.
Right.
Right? They're using your face, they're using your reputation, they're using your influence, they're using your brand
And your talent.
to market something that will make them millions.
Definitely.
So why do I have to sit down in a room with you and negotiate $500 a month, Eastern Caribbean currency, for you to use my face and my fans to market a product or service for you that is going to generate hundreds of thousands and maybe even millions of dollars in the long run? It is insulting, and I have actually advised many artists in St. Kitts and Nevis to rip up those documents and straight back in their face because it is unacceptable.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that interests me is the fact that when we look, like you said, comparatively against what's given and distributed in some of the other islands by some of these same corporations.
Exactly.
That's the funny thing about it. I don't know why St. Kitts is so different to some of the other countries, apart from the fact that it's just been allowed to happen and persons accept it. Right? And so I think a lot of times it's not that the artists don't know that they're getting taken advantage of, but they're just really not in a position to really
negotiate.
Not only negotiate, but they might just need the $500.
Right.
I was just about to touch on that. Some of them are actually coming from, more humble beginnings than others, right? And $500 a month plus X amount of free services, based on whatever the company is offering.
An amazing deal
That
to them.
is a life changer for some of these artists,
Yeah.
and it's just being real. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's what I think with Red Pill. It's not about just negotiating and coming up with endorsements and that type of thing. It's about giving these artists independence by leveraging what they bring to the table, their creativity, their influence, their ability to connect with people. That is what it is. So if an artist wants to own a bus company, like we help to facilitate that. Because,
Okay.
Right, because it gives you then that level of independence.
So it's
right?
holistic in its approach. Yeah.
In other words, think about it this way. If I can help these major corporations to market their products and their businesses and their services, why can't I just have my own business, product or service, and I market it myself, right? And so what happens is that the artist may not have the knowledge or the infrastructure around them to really develop these businesses, and that's where Red Pill comes in. We want to create entrepreneurs, because then what happens is instead of having to focus directly on your 9 to 5 to make money and then your music is a hobby, what we want to have them do is to become entrepreneurs in their own right and be able to have these businesses that allow them to then focus on their music career as well. We see it with all the artists overseas. You have like Rihanna with her Fenty Beauty lines,
Right.
and like, this is the way that artists have to move now, because with the changing landscape of music, even making money just from music is not wise, right? I mean, look at how the COVID-19 has affected the earning potential for these artists. All these vets we spoke about earlier this morning, a lot of paychecks went on the line. Luckily in St. Kitts, we have election going, and of course, now the value of the artist is being seen and they're being paid.
Some popcorn sharing.
Oh, yeah. Something moving, right? A little spending here. But, I mean, in a lot of the islands, there are a lot of creatives that are having to reinvent themselves in order to survive. Luckily, by just the nature, they're creative people. And so I'm hoping that a lot of us could continue to survive. But, I mean, having those secondary sources of income, right, really play a big part in the survival and the security of these artists.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke to two gentlemen yesterday that are testament to this. Bijan Bass and Jonathan Brown, both photographers. No events are happening. Hardly any weddings.
Right.
On a large scale. Right, no birthday parties per se. So, and one of the things they mentioned is what you just touched on, is that they had to transition and switch gears, right, into different revenue streams. So now Jonathan is actually doing, video production and voiceovers, and commercials.
Yep.
Right? It's the season for it. It's campaign season So he's making ads for Labour, PLP, T-Beauty, PAM, NRP, CCM, everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? And Style Joke is the same thing. That those two guys actually were mostly on the road doing work, but now they have transitioned into more studio shoots.
Right.
Definitely,
Right?
definitely.
And the same thing for artists. I mean, having a different revenue stream is vital. You can't go out anymore to perform anymore. Performing on YouTube and our lives and so isn't really an income generator. But if you had your own headphone company, if you had your own apparel company, if you had a couple buses on the road like you mentioned.
You had 2 cars leasing, you had an
Exactly.
apartment complex. Like, these are the things that we really want to see our artists getting into. Because let's be honest, we're a small market. We are not going to see, let me not say that. We may not see a mass amount of creatives making millions and millions of dollars. We do have the talent, but the market is small and it's going to take time to develop that. So what's going to happen in the meantime, right? So we need to create ways for our creatives to be able to support their families, to pay their bills, and to live comfortably just like anybody else, because they do bring a vital part of society to us, which is this creativity that they are inspired to develop.
Okay. Kevin, do you have any questions?
Is-
I feel like I'm talking too
yeah,
much.
you just bang him out a lot.
I apologize.
But it's okay. I have a random question. Where did the name Red Pill come from?
Well, the Red
The Matrix?
Let the man answer the question.
Well, really, I mean, people are familiar with the red pill from the Matrix, right? But I mean, the concept did exist prior to the Matrix, right? And it was the red pill represents the change from the norm, waking up, right? And I felt that's what I was trying to do when I came up with the concept of the business. It was like I'm offering artists an opportunity to change the status quo,
I love it.
to wake up from the Matrix.
Because in the Matrix, the blue pill was to go back to your regular life, innit?
Yeah, to just
And
continue.
the red pill was the unknown.
Right, to wake you up and get you out of the Matrix, right? And to make
Wow.
a change.
You in Bastille School, ain't it?
Yeah, BHS,
of
birthplace of
course.
champions,
Of champions,
The
yes.
birthplace of champions.
Jade, what school you went, Jade?
Jade, what school? It wasn't Bastia, we could tell. What school you
Best
went?
school?
Oh,
Oh,
She
okay.
said Washi.
It makes sense now.
My condolences.
Anyway. But when did you discover you had that talent in the music industry?
Well, I hear stories. I don't really remember this, but there are stories that have been told to me. That I would go to church and my mother was, when she was pregnant with me, like when the music would play, she would have to hold her dress out because I would be just kicking all during the music. So she thought I was dancing in her belly,
I
apparently.
like how we said, I don't remember.
I don't really remember
like,
this.
duh. I thought you gonna say like when he was 3, he picked up a guitar.
Right.
The man said when his mother was pregnant with it.
No, I've just been told. Like, for some reason, I don't really have a recollection of this event.
Of being in a stomach, yeah, me either.
But yeah, I mean, after that, I did get into music, to playing music in church, and played music in high school band and that stuff. And then I really got interested in production. I sold my first beat at 13 to like some random German producer, and I found on Yahoo, right? So
Okay.
like stuff like that, like I've been doing for quite some time. I eventually, after teaching at Bastille High School for a couple of years, went off to study.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I taught for a little bit. I love teaching, but I ended up moving and going to school in Orlando, Florida. The goal was to do recording arts and eventually switch to doing show production and touring. So I got into not only just sound production and music, and because people know me as a sound guy, right, pretty much, right? But I did a lot of work in video, did a lot of work in lighting, and I do a lot of work in production. And then since that, been touring the Caribbean and the world.
Well, for those listening who don't know, Azim is actually and has been involved in I would go as far to say every single major event in this country.
Basically.
In terms of sound, whether it's mixing bands and artists, and those are the technical aspects of events. So he's well rounded, very talented. As a matter of fact, I want to speak to you because I think it was yesterday you mentioned that you actually do classes or are willing to do classes to teach people your craft, and that is something I am personally interested in, and you are the reason for that. Right? Azim is actually one of the only qualified sound engineers in the country. How many of you are there that actually went to school and learned this?
I living here right now. I might be the only one. I do know. No, but I do know that there's a lot of interest, and that's one of the things that I'm really proud about.
Yeah.
I get parents coming up to me now and asking me for information on schools and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Because when I made the decision, like my parents, it was a fight with my parents, but I thank them for really seeing the vision and allowing me and supporting me to go off and study what it is I went to study, because persons really didn't understand what I was getting into. And actually, I don't even think they quite understood what I was going to be getting into as well, you know. But now I really see a lot of young children, and music is becoming so
Showing
popular.
interest, yeah.
And not only wanting to just do it in the bedrooms, but actually now see it as a career.
Exactly.
You know, they see me touring.
Exactly.
We have Emmanuel Howell from Nevis, who went to the same school I did, and now he's working with artists like Maxi Priest and stuff as well. So
really?
yeah, so like one thing is that as much as I might be the only qualified sound engineer on the island, there are other engineers that
who are very good.
Who are very good
Hands
and,
down, hands down.
respected around the Caribbean, right?
Yeah.
So we really do have capacity for that here and a lot of talent for that here.
Yeah. Can you tell us a bit about your education, the schools that you went to, the qualifications you have, as well as some of the work you've done, artists you've worked with over the years. I know you've worked with major big fish in the industry. So tell us about your journey. When you left singing, because it's for lack of a better word, an unorthodox career path for kitchens and divisions. Like you said, your parents, were kind of confused at first. Like,
I could imagine how much pushback you got, because a lot of us we say what we want to go and do, and everybody's like, "What? With the doctor, with the lawyer?"
Yeah, people didn't really understand. I mean, I did have that whole conversation with them about, okay, so why don't you do like computers or business first,
and then
I had that whole conversation. One of the things that was very pivotal in my decision making was when I went to teach. I love teaching. I didn't quite like the system, but it became very almost depressing, right? Going to work every, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a career change, and if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do something that I love, right?
Indeed.
And by that time, I was already in bands. Like I had started. I was one of the founding members of Royalties. Like it's actually named after me, right? So like there's Royalties, and I'd been playing music. I mixed my first show for made what I would call a big band when I was like in fifth form in high school. The Free Winds came to the auditorium, and I was the only guy who used to be in the auditorium all the time.
I remember that.
So they were just like, "Oh, well, you're supposed to know to work this, so go do that, right?" But I made the decision to go off to Florida and study at Full Sail University, which is a college which specializes in the creative arts and media.
Brilliant.
And did show production and touring, like I said before. And that was a very eye-opening experience to me, recognizing the scope at which what was available, going to shows, and I tried to put myself involved in as much things as possible while there. I worked at multiple churches, I worked on TV shows, I was intern at studios, trying to learn as much about the industry as possible and trying to get as well-rounded an education as was possible. And then after that, I ended up, like I said, I was working at churches still even after graduation, like mega churches, Faith World in Orlando, which is a huge church, First Presbyterian, takes up like 2 city blocks,
Wow.
It's like
a mega church.
Like mega churches, right? And that was an experience as well. But I started touring with some rock bands, small rock bands doing like screamer music, those guys who scream all night and then like really
heavy metal.
Yeah, I ended up coming off to. I was like, I can't deal with the screaming all night.
That's rough.
Yeah, and I like rock
imagine.
music. Don't get me wrong, I like rock music, but the screamo thing was just like getting to me at one
Actually,
point.
the heavy metal is actually the only genre of music I don't like.
Really?
Yeah, the heavy metal itself. I like rock music, but that's not that version of rock music.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I love rock.
I like
But
me-
heavy metal is too much for me.
Yeah,
yeah,
I like metal, but the screamo thing is
Yeah.
crazy. I worked with bands. If anybody's knows, there's this band Non-Point. Like they were huge back in the 2000s, and I got an opportunity to work with those. So I was very thankful. But this time I'm working local shows in Orlando. I'm doing acts like working on shows with acts like Snoop Dogg, Mary J. Blige, that kind of thing, right? Eventually I made the decision I wanted to come home to try and develop the industry here. I saw there was a lot of talent and a lot of scope, and ended up coming back to the island and realizing that, the pipe dream that I had might not be as simple at the time, right?
Oh yeah.
Right, so I ended up deciding, okay, well, I need to play my trade elsewhere. Started flying out, working with a lot of regional companies, eventually making links and started touring. I toured with Shaggy, Mr. Lover Lover for
Mr. Bombastic.
Mr. Bombastic for a couple of years, and that was really one of the main things that got me like recognized in the industry, like, because of course he's like, at the time he was pretty much the biggest reggae act worldwide outside of, well, Caribbean based act out of the Caribbean, in the world, outside of maybe Rihanna, right? So it was very influential for my career. After that, since then I've worked with pretty much almost all the reggae acts in some capacity. Toured with Jesse Royal, Chronics. I've worked with Coffee. I've worked with Iba Ma. Like name them, Beanie Man. I've worked with all of them in some capacity. And now I head up audio at one of the Caribbean's biggest production houses, Caribbean Production Solutions, and we do concerts all over the Caribbean, as well as I work with several other like production houses around and production companies around the Caribbean, doing not only sound but also production and stuff like that.
Wow.
So it's safe to say you're a busy man.
I try to be.
You used to be.
I try to be. No, I mean,
Was a busy man.
Yeah, like, I mean, look, this COVID thing, like, it really came in, and I just got a new job that was supposed to start right as COVID hit. I was supposed to start working with Morgan Heritage. Very excited about that. Like, I worked with them before, and then they were bringing me on full time, and it's like COVID hits, right? So
Life comes at you fast, man.
yeah, but like I said, like, we're creatives, we find ways to adapt and reskill and retool. So, we just do what we have to do, and you don't complain. You just find new ways to move. It's been a learning experience for me as well, this last couple of months. But you have to remain busy in this industry. It's like you have to be a shark. If you stop swimming, you die.
Yeah, and for those of you listening who don't, as in personally, I mean, he always on a plane outside of COVID. And that leads up to my next question in terms of, because personally for me, like, I don't know if I could take on like being on a plane like every 2 weeks, and that seems to be your lifestyle, at least some parts of the year. You live in St. Kitts, I'm assuming you love, your country and your home, etc. How is it for you, having to travel so often, being away from home so often, in terms of, establishing some sort of stability? I mean, we ain't young no more. We're young people, but we ain't like 22 no more. So,
Yeah.
I mean, eventually, you want to, build a house and have a family. I'm assuming.
Definitely.
So in terms of being always on a plane, traveling countries, touring with bands and artists, etc. How do you cope with that? And when do you see yourself, if at all, actually taking a pause on the tour life and actually, building a foundation here in St. Kitts or wherever you want to settle?
Well, I mean, St. Kitts is home and will always be home for me. And the thing about touring was that it gave me an opportunity to see things that I might not have otherwise seen. Like when I look back at the places that I've been, and I try to figure out, well, how was I gonna get here outside of what I do for work? Places like Sri Lanka and stuff, going there for shows and being on 26-hour flights.
Oh boy,
and like
I would die.
Like it's really afforded me opportunities that I don't know how I would have gotten otherwise. But like you said, it's definitely hard on stuff like relationships. It's hard.
yeah.
It's definitely like I don't have any kids, right? So the way I looked at it was do it now while I don't have those commitments.
Get the experience and
Right,
yeah.
right.
Enjoy it a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And there's guys, there's some real road dogs, guys who do this thing for 40, 50, 60 years.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't necessarily see myself doing that. I'm actually at a point now where I had been pulling back from traveling as much and really trying to build a base here in St. Kitts. I think that now it's ripe for somebody of my with my passion and my expertise to add to what's happening here. We've spoken about it on several episodes, the way how entertainment has blossomed here, and the industry is now looking poised for some new thing happening, right? And so I'd really like to be a part of that. I'm really trying to not just bounce around forever, you know, and really obtain or achieve what was my initial goal when I came back home, which was to positively contribute to the development of entertainment, the creative industries. I'm here in St. Kitts. It's not just music, but like we said, poetry, film,
The arts in
and
general,
the arts
yeah.
in general, and entertainment, including sports, right? So that's kind of where I'm really hoping to see myself from now until.
Good. Well, I have one more question for you. What is your vision for the music industry in St. Kitts upcoming?
Post-COVID.
Post-COVID, what's your vision?
Providing you stay here, because I know,
I know
as the airport open,
Gone. We can see some 26-hour flights. But what's your vision? What would you like to see happen when COVID is over and everything in regards to St. Kitts?
Well, when COVID, I don't even know. There's so much unknowns in regards to. There's so much unknowns in regards to what's gonna what's the new normal gonna be, right? And so I think the music industry is going to have to find ways to earn outside of the traditional mass gathering, right, type of events. I really don't know what it's going to look like afterwards. But I think the local artists, let me speak directly to the local artists. I think we're at a point now where you have to continue to create. That's first and foremost. Continue to create good content, create content that can compete in any market, right? And then you find ways to market, which has been the difficult part for us. It used to be distribution, but with everything going digital now, distribution is becoming more and more easy. But it doesn't make sense that you have your product on the shelf and nobody knows that it's there, right? And so marketing is now becoming even more and more important. And finding ways to set yourself apart is going to be pivotal, right, for the local artists. Finding ways to have your music stand out. There's like over 40,000 songs added to Spotify every day. And you have to somehow find a way for your song to stand out, right? And so remaining unique, finding ways for your stuff to stand out is going to be interesting. For the live sound and the live performances, we see virtual is the way to go, right?
Yeah.
And the question for the industry now is how are we going to monetize that
Capitalize on it.
and find ways that all the stakeholders profit, right? Instead of having the outdoor events, because those are going to change in some way.
Right.
Hopefully they come back sooner rather than later, but they're going to change. And it's going to be interesting to see that balance between promoter, creator, and sponsors and how that is going to work in the digital and virtual space, right? But that is what's going to have to happen. We're going to have to find a way to have promoters develop virtual events and have artists get compensated and have sponsors see the value in having these events brought to potential, see their brands brought to the potential onlookers for these events and find some way to monetize that whole new environment, right? So that is where I think this thing is going to be going.
Okay,
That's
well,
all
Mr. Bailey, thank you very much. We've come to the end of the show. Wonderful interview, very insightful, very educational.
Thanks for having me.
And you know we loved your presence today. We want you back tomorrow. So thank you very much.
You know what? I think we're going to do just that, right?
All right, guys. Well, that was Island Tea with Amali and Kevin, your faves. We'll catch you tomorrow.
The Sound 98.9 FM.
Tis the season for tools. It's tool season at Horswood's Building Centre and Nevis Centre for the month of May. That's right. At Horswood's Building Centre and Nevis Centre, we're making it easy to get the right tools for your home improvement during this tool season ending May 31st. For this tool season, hundreds of tools store-wide have been slashed up to 25% off. That's 25% off tools store-wide, from drills to mowers, tool bags to cutters, wrenches to hammers, and much more. So from now until the end of May, it's tool season at Horswood's with up to 25% off store-wide on tools. Horswood's Building Centre, St. Kitts Nevis' favorite home improvement store, making home improvement easy. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.